coercive closes, forcing you to do something. Now, I talked about earlier, even a blind pig can find food. This works 5% of the time with a 50% buyer remorse rate. Those coercive, those hard closes, but that's what they're still training on. They're not working on you, so why would you be using them on other people? You have to find out that people don't want to feel like this. Have you ever felt like that? That people don't want that. It's not a game of war. It's not a game I'm going to get them. This is a win-win situation. You're serving, you're helping other people. That's where people want persuasion. We're not there to screw people because they'll never do business with you again. And that's what amazes me in the car, especially with car dealerships. They have something what they call an itch cycle. Most people buy a car every 4 or 5 years. How many of you go back to the same sales rep the second time? 2. You would think over the lifetime of a person, there's probably 5, 6, 8 cars there, but they're just so concerned about that one sale, getting that one sale, getting the one sale, not knowing the long-term worth of a customer. Understand when you study persuasion and marketing, it is so much more expensive to find a new customer than sell additional products to existing customers. Raving fans. Does closing work? Sometimes. We were getting bids on painting the interior of our house, and this painter comes in. And my wife's read the book. She knows all the persuasive techniques, and she's actually good. She doesn't sugarcoat it. She gives you the truth. She'll actually sit down and says, well, you blew it here, 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 and here, and you did this, this, and this, which is painful to many people, but you probably wish many of your prospects would do that for you because it would be a gold mine to you to understand what you need to change. Anyway, this painter comes in, and I didn't know this, but he had just come from closing school, and he had all these new tools in his tool belt on how to close, and he did a terrible job, didn't connect, it didn't work, and she said, sorry, we're not going to do business with you. And he just kept trying all these different closes. Now, as a trainer, it was a gold mine for me when I found out he left his training notebook. So my wife says, is this your notebook? It's got all these closing skills in it. They're terrible. I go, no, there's not mine. So I ran up and I photocopied them real fast before he came back and got them. Because you wouldn't believe it if I didn't show you what he learned at closing school. His first one, and it's in his writing, there's some misspellings. The Nike close. Do it. Be aggressive. You being nice to them, they get to do business with you. That was his close. You know, it's your privilege to do. Isn't that the exact opposite? It was, you're just going to be aggressive. And then this next one will just blow you away. I couldn't even believe it when I saw it. That's why I photocopied it. He calls it the puke close. Of course, he says, not the best close. Now tell me if this would work on you. You're going to use your competitor? I'm going to get sick and puke in your yard. Wow, would that work? Oh, you're going to puke. Okay, let's do business. That's what they train them to do, and that's what people are doing. It's just not how it works. I couldn't believe it. I thought the Nike clothes were bad. When I got to that puke clothes, I'm like, man, who does this work on? Little old ladies? I don't know. Oh, dear, I don't want you to vomit. So everyone is different, and this is the key right here. As Abraham Maslow says, to the man who only has a hammer in his toolkit, every problem looks like a nail. That's important. Because sometimes with persuaders, they find 2 or things that work and they use them over and over and over and over again. You have to customize it to the person. You have to change to the person. You should be able to have multiple presentations and different skills. Sure, it works some of the time. I can't put a lot more people in front of you, but I can increase your rate as far as getting people and persuading people. You got to change it up and do it different. That's one of the biggest mistakes is you find something you're comfortable with, you have a presentation that works most of the time or some of the time or a few percent of the time. You got to change it up. So the decision-making process. We talked about when people need it, want it, like it, and afford it, there's some knee-jerk reactions sometimes. Why people do things, why do people buy? Very important that you understand this. Because you walk into a clothing store, you need some help. Beautiful young lady comes up to you and says, can I help you? What do you say? Just looking. Like, oh, I needed some help. Have you done that? We have these knee-jerk reactions that we have to get past. And you have to know, is it just a knee-jerk reaction or is it actually an objection? And we want to go into the marketing and the mindset and understand we've learned more about the human brain and how we make decisions in the last 10 years than we have in the last 100 years combined. Why we do things. When you ask somebody, well, why did you buy that Ferrari? Well, it's an investment. Good resale value. Quick car, I'm safer on the freeways. Is that why they bought it? Why did they buy it? Prestige, they wanted it. Maybe they think they're going to be a chick magnet now. I don't know. But that's the thing we're finding out. There's the reason they say, and then there's the real reason. And that's true with your consumers, the mental process. And that's why you have to understand marketing and understand the market, understand your consumer and why people do what they do and why they think. 80% of all new products fail. Wow. 80%. Now, these are the big boys. They spend millions of dollars in focus groups. They're talking to people. Will you buy this program? They say yes. They say yes. But they still 80% failure rate. Have you thought about that? They did research in a focus group. Now, the challenge with the focus group is that everyone just agrees with each other. It might not be the right thing, and there's just kind of that group thing going on. This kitchen appliance, they showed it to this group of people. And they said, would you buy this? Would you use this in your home? When this comes out, will you go out and buy it? And 60% said, yes, we will. So it came out, it failed, they were disappointed, they went back to the people that would buy it, said they would buy it, and only 12% did. Well, what happened? What's going on? And part of it, too, is we focus too much on the logical and we forget about the emotional. Because like I say, even the big boys make mistakes. Coke, in the 80s, losing market share to Pepsi. Pepsi's a little bit sweeter, right? They're losing market share. So I think, well, let's change the formula around a little bit. Let's come out with the new Coke. Remember this? So they went around to Coke drinkers across the country, and in blind taste test, Coke drinkers preferred the taste of new Coke to old Coke, dramatically. No brainer, isn't it? Wow. Coke drinkers like the taste of new Coke better. Logically, it makes perfect sense. Emotionally, what's the problem? Right? Wait a minute, I've been drinking this for 20, 30 years. You're changing the flavor. I don't like the taste of the new flavor. Even though in the blind taste test they did, the emotions get involved and it changes everything. Cadillac made a similar mistake during the energy crisis. They ran around and talked to people, hey, would you buy a smaller, more gas-efficient Cadillac? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'd do that. And so they're all excited. They come out with a Cadillac Cimarron. Any Cimarron owners out there? Anybody going to admit to it? No one's going to admit to it? It was the size of a Pinto, little stick shift, a little smoke car, and it said Cadillac on the back. Now, logically that made perfect sense. Emotionally, what's the problem? Why do you buy a Cadillac? It's big, it's prestigious, and that's why you buy it, and that's where people make the mistake. Even a refrigerator company found out that most people waste the energy when they open the refrigerator and sit there gawking. I'm sure nobody does that, but they just sit there and they look, and all this energy's coming out. They're like, oh, we'll develop a see-through refrigerator. You can see what you want, grab it. Oh, you're saving hundreds of dollars a year in energy. They talk to the consumers. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. It comes out, fails miserably. Why? Edna comes over and says, meatloaf for pudding. You know, you just don't want people looking in your fridge. It's like having a see-through medicine cabinet. There's some things you just don't want people to see. Have you ever wondered why video phones didn't really take off? Sounded like a great idea, didn't it? But we don't, logically, but emotionally, we don't want people to see us many times. So you have to really look at the different things and how the human brain works. And most of the times, we don't know why we buy. Again, a lot of it is a subconscious trigger. How do you do that? When you go to buy a shampoo, how many choices do you have? Oh, you have colors and flavors. I mean, this and that. We develop these shortcuts, these knee-jerk reactions. You buy the one your parents bought, the commercial you saw, the one that's on sale. It would be the color. You're looking at one has mango, and this one has egg extract, this one has manure. I mean, it has all these different things. You're just like, and you pick. We don't have time to process. You do not have time to pick everyone up, look at it, look at the ingredients, look at the cost per ounce, and so we develop these knee-jerk reactions. That's why 95% of persuasion is a subconscious thing. Even in studies in the dining room, it's really interesting, where they'd bring a person in and they would set him up with somebody that he would clash with, somebody he didn't like. And they were there to evaluate the food. And so they're eating the food, evaluating the food, they're having a conversation, the guy's getting tense and angry, didn't like the person. and evaluated the food. Came back a couple months later, and they set him down, this is the same food, with somebody that he connected with, somebody he liked. We had great conversation. They talked about it. He ate the food, evaluated the food, exact same food. Guess what happened? The evaluations were completely different. They were much lower with the person he didn't like and much higher with the person he liked. Now, when he talked to him, he would never admit that, would he? No, something was different. It was the exact same food. And that's these knee-jerk reactions that we